So, like a lot of you, I've been trying out the new Call of Duty World War II beta over the weekend, and while the game itself has been received, well, let's just say, harshly by the community, I must say that I quite enjoyed the beta. At this stage it's obviously not as polished as say Battlefield 1, but having really last gotten into Call of Duty on my PS4 and that game being Ghosts, I found that the game was pretty sharp, and I did enjoy the sharpness of the controls and the fluidity of the matches. Overall, it felt, well, completely competent, bar a couple of minor crashes when the beta first opened up. Using the Ryzen 7 1700 clocked at 3.7 GHz across all 8 cores, an MSI GTX 980 Ti gaming, 6 graphics card at stock speeds, and 24GB of DDR4 RAM clocked at 3 GHz, the game settings could all be cranked up to the max at 1920x1080, and frame rates generally hovered around about 120 FPS. So as you can see from the footage, whether it's gunplay, particle effects, spewing rocket launchers, or me getting killed a lot, frame rates were rock solid. And so it should be. The game, while looking good, is not exactly pushing the limits of what war FPSs can look like. At this point, pop-in is still kinda evident in some of the maps, and the overall presentation, it kinda pales in comparison to last year's big hitter Battlefield 1. But COD has never really been about the looks. I think the last COD game that actually wowed me was maybe Call of Duty 4 Modern Warfare, and that was basically a decade ago at this point. So a new look of polish and a higher resolution aside, it doesn't really feel like much has moved on since the last decade, let alone the last year. Now, I'm sure that's going to please a lot of you and equally irk quite a few others, but COD is what it is. It's a juggernaut of popularity, and moving back to the historical war setting, much like Battlefield 1 did last year, it's a welcome change from all the futuristic nonsense that we've been seeing over the last few years. A few things to note on the technical side: despite not looking jaw-droppingly beautiful, it is a bit of a resource hog. The 6GB of VRAM on the 980 Ti was quite often full, or at very least very close to it, meaning those with a 3 or 4GB card, they're not going to be using the highest settings in this game, even though the GPU itself might be quite capable of doing that. And even more surprising was the system memory usage, with prolonged play seeing over 12GB of RAM used. Another thing that Call of Duty World War II seems to thrive on is cores, or more specifically threads. Disabling cores and threads on the 8-core 16-thread Ryzen 7 threw up a few interesting points of note, and when I go through these, bear in mind that it is the multiplayer and it's incredibly difficult to replicate the same conditions other than choosing the same level. Well, other than the fact that I'm pretty terrible at COD, at least that's consistent. But whether it's in an 8-core 16-thread mode or a 6-core 12-thread, the results for these were pretty much exactly the same, averaging around about 120 FPS, with the lowest frame rate seen being about 97 FPS. Disabling SMT, which is AMD's very good multi-threading technology, left us with 6 cores and 6 threads, and this is where we've seen the first sign that Call of Duty World War II may be a bit of a CPU hog at heart as well, with averages here closer to 100 FPS rather than the 120 seen with SMT enabled. It was still silky smooth though, and the CPU usage was much more saturated than the 40% we were getting, with all 16 threads enabled. Interestingly though, turning SMT back on but disabling 2 more cores, giving us a 4-core 8-thread configuration, actually returned better results than the 6-core 6-thread configuration, with it unsurprisingly landing in between the 6-thread and the 12-thread results. Turning off SMT again, and this is kinda a slightly unlikely scenario, and we'll be akin to somebody running a Ryzen 3 CPU with a 980 Ti, which is kinda maybe a little bit less powerful than a GTX 1070 or Vega 56 card. With this configuration, the CPU couldn't quite keep up with the GPU, and this, for the first time in the test, the GPU usage was well below 90%, with the CPU pegged at near 100. But even in this configuration, everything was buttery smooth, and the minimums never dropped below 60 FPS, which is excellent, and with a bit more optimisation in the final game, who knows what that will bring. It will be interesting to see how well the 6-core 6-thread Core i5s hold up compared to the 12-thread Ryzen 5 counterparts, as this game did appear to perform better with a 4-core 8-thread configuration compared to the 6 and 6, but I guess only time's going to tell on that one. All in all, it was a fun weekend, and while it is a hog at its high settings, I wouldn't worry too much if you're running a lower end rig. I got the chance to boot it up on the budget gaming build with a Core i5 4590 and a GTX 1050 Ti, and it wasn't hard to get the game playing smoothly. And I'll let you in on a little secret, there wasn't a huge amount of visual difference between the spec Goblin highest and the medium to low settings. But the beta is over, and I hope you've enjoyed this quick look at Call of Duty World War II. I'd love to hear if any of you are thinking on getting it once it's released, and if you want a more Intel focused look, I'd go check out Steve's video at Hardware Unboxed, as he's done some really good initial benchmarks on this game too, and his gameplay footage is, well, it's much better than mine. Anyway folks, thanks for watching, don't forget to hit that subscribe button if you haven't done so already, and I'll see you all in the comment section down below, and in the next video.